Emma, you've jumped ship, left one rival to the other, the Dragons to the Sharks, which you're not supposed to do. But anyway, how are you feeling being here at Shark Park ahead of their new season?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, and it was a really, really hard decision, to be honest. I waited up for a very, very long time, but in the end, I just kind of decided I need a bit of a change, and yeah, the Sharks really offered me that, and I'm so pumped to be here and in part of the inaugural women's team.
Well, Emma, you're in the Shire at the moment, but you're a Wollongong girl, born and bred, still live there now. Tell me about life in the Gong when you're a youngster.
Yeah, I love the Gong. It's really home for me. My whole family's still down there, so I absolutely love it. And growing up, I kind of was just one of those kids that played everything, but really stuck with surf club and touch footy. They were kind of like my two faves. And yeah, just kind of was like a happy-go-lucky kid, so competitive all the time, just wanted to kind of play everything. And yeah, I just have happy memories of childhood.
How'd you go in the surf club stuff? I imagine beach flags, beach sprints, so it looks like it's your go.
Yeah, definitely into the beach events. Didn't really go near the water that much. But yeah, I actually did that competitively up until 16. So kind of, yeah, really love those days. So
rugby league, when you're first allowed to play it, how old were you?
16 I played, yeah, so I didn't play as a junior or anything, and at 16 I played touch with Sammy Bremner actually, and she said, we're starting a team in Helensburgh, does any of you girls want to play? And I said, yeah, like I'll be keen to play, so that's kind of how I got into it.
What was it about rugby league that appealed to you as a sport?
I grew up watching it, like I always loved watching the footy. I was kind of interested around the time when the Storm were like the main team through that era with like Billy Slater, Cameron Smith. That era was when I was kind of a bit of a footy fan. So I just loved watching them. You know, I was always like, Dad, let's put the footy on, let's put the footy on. And otherwise they wouldn't have even had it on. So just kind of always watched them. And then I was like, obviously pretty good at touch. Like I loved touch, played rep touch for years and years and years. So yeah, I think when the opportunity came up, I just kind of jumped at it.
It was a pretty quick progression, right? Because you start playing at 16 and then, what, 2 years later you're playing at a World Cup for Australia?
Yeah. I mean, it was a different kind of time back then. Like, the game's not what it is today, or wasn't what it is today, but it was kind of a transition between, like, the older girls that had paved the way for us, and then there was, like, you know, Sammy and I that were, like, these young, fast, like kind of like a different style of footy. So we were kind of that like transition period, and yeah, ended up playing the World Cup. I think I was in Year 12 still. So went over to England for that and played in that World Cup, which was, yeah, super fun.
Yeah, how was that experience?
You know, I was such a little baby. I was so in my shell back then, like I don't think I really spoke to anyone. I just had like my few kind of Helensburgh teammates that I kind of would have hung out with. But yeah, I was just like a really quiet, little tiny girl. I was probably like 10 kilos lighter than I am now. So I was just quiet and just happy to be there, really. Where
did Rugby Sevens come in at that point? Were they running at the same time? Were you playing both sports?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I got kind of scouted to play while I was playing touch, also in might have been Year 11 or 12. And I was pretty hesitant to go at the start. You know, I was like, no, I just want to play league. And then it had just got announced to be in the Olympics, so they were kind of like really pushing for participants. So yeah, I started playing at school and then ended up playing for Australia as well while I was in Year 12. So that was, yeah, a pretty big year. I went and debuted over there in Dubai at a World Series event, and then got a contract on the table that year as well.
Yes, Cassie!
How do you go as a talker on the field? Are you naturally vocal?
Yes, I think it's something that I've kind of developed over a few years, but now I am, and when I'm confident, it definitely comes out. And being at fullback, you know, some of the girls kind of tell me to stop yelling at them, and I use their full name, and they kind of always give me for it. But yeah, just kind of got to boss them around and tell them where to go.
And you're changing positions, is what I hear on the grapevine. So you're going from fullback to 5'8". A lot of people do that these days in the modern game. But why did you want that transition?
It was kind of something I tossed up and kind of floated to the Sharks, and when I spoke to them, they were like, yeah, 100%, like we back you all the way. And I kind of just want to get my hands on the ball a little bit earlier and a little bit more consistent. And I think 6 kind of allows me to do that. And towards the back end of the game, I found myself kind of organising or wanting to organise and kind of set things up for myself. But I kind of struggled to do that at the back. So I think at 6, I'll be able to do that a little bit more.
Go, Tale, we're going, we're going, we're going. Square up for me, Tale. Take it, Tale, now.
But you give away a little bit of weight, but that doesn't concern you. Like, in terms of it, you probably, 10, 15 kilos lighter than some of the girls that are coming at you.
There's some big second rows going around now. But yeah, no, I'm pretty confident I'll have a really good group of girls around me.
Good job. Lovely.
Tony Gatto goes left and right and then tries to burst through the tackle. She does burst through. She will not catch the speedster. Emma Tony Gatto. That is individual brilliance.
Your entire time travelling, playing sevens, you're actually also doing a university degree, right?
Yeah.
It took about 7 years to get done.
It did, yeah. So I'm an occupational therapist, did a degree in that. And yeah, as you said, took 7 years of part-time and had to do my placements as well. So I had to kind of fit in a 9-week placement at the end there. So yeah, lots of dedication and hard work, but so glad I did it.
There's 1 Olympics, 2 Olympics, and then are you pretty content you knew then, I'm done with rugby sevens?
So I kind of, as I said, had been through that little bit before of like doubting whether I wanted to keep going, but I just kind of hadn't really said anything to the girls. And there was a moment after the final and we like carried one of the older girls off, Shannon Parry, on our shoulders because it was her last sevens game. And like I turned to one of the girls in the team, Dom, and I was like, oh, I think this is my last game too. And she was just like, what?
Well, how did the Dragons come about then? What was the conversations there?
I'd kind of always watched the growth of the NRLW and thought, oh, I really want to play. Like I was kind of like jealous and I was like, I reckon I would give it a damn good crack.
You kind of bridged 2 generations of rugby league players. Like when you left, you were there with, as you said, some of the older women, the trailblazers, the ones that did it for no money. What did they teach you, first of all? Yeah,
I think they just made me really appreciate where I was, I guess. Like they were telling stories of how they'd had to pay for things and had to sacrifice their jobs and how they'd fought so hard to get where they were. So I think that was really inspiring and made me really appreciate. Well, even at the 2013 World Cup, we didn't pay anything to go. We didn't get paid to go, sorry, but it was free. And that was like a huge step up. So even seeing how appreciative they were of that to like where we are now is just incredible.
And when you sit here now and you see young women come in, like say a Jessie Southwell or someone who's going to be around for the next 15 years, like, how crazy is it to think what women's sport might be done
I'm jealous.
by the time she's done?
I know. I'm like, oh, I wish I was like 16 now. Just to think of like, they could be, equal to the men when they're older. Like that is so incredible and they won't have to work. They will just have footy as their job. And I just think that's awesome. And I'm jealous. I wish I was like 6 even.
So when you came back to the NRLW, like you took to it like a duck to water. Was it that professionalism that made it just so seamless, that transition?
I think so. Physically, I was in a really good position. Like, it's hard to say without like saying it, but like in the gym, I was kind of like ahead of everyone. Even though I was a fullback, I was like really strong in comparison. I was like fit, I was fast. Even before my first game, everyone was like, are you nervous? Are you nervous? And I was like, nah, like I'm just pumped, like get me out there. So I think even like that maturity and like that reaction to the game in comparison, like if it was a few years earlier, I would have been in my pants and like very, very scared, so.
The burners, Jess Surges is burning away. Tonegato around the legs. What a tackle from Emma Tonegato. One of the tackles of the season.
What about winning a Dally M in your first season? How did that feel? To share it with Millie as well, but like, to be voted the best player in the game.
Very, very honoured, I think, and very, very special. You look at all the people that have kind of won that award earlier and every single person's incredible, and to share it with Millie I think was very special. She's somebody who I think is so talented and works so hard.
Well, now Tonegato outside, Chapman
goes in.
Well, coming off the back of an Origin series for the girls,
Yeah,
a two-game
first
series.
time.
Yeah. How did you feel about the 2 games? It was an odd one, wasn't it?
It was. And I feel like we're in a bit of an awkward space where we're super, super grateful for being where we are today, but we're still really, really pushing for what we deserve and the future and equality and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, as I said, you know, kind of grateful for the 2 games, but it was a little bit of a kind of weird ending to the series.
Yeah, what was that like to feel like you celebrate a win of the game but not the series? Like, it was a bit strange.
Yeah, it just felt like we lost everything, to be honest. But, yeah, I mean, I really would have loved a decider, and we kind of knew we had to win by 9 and we didn't quite get there. But, yeah, I mean, I was proud of the performance we put in and being able to bounce back after that first game. I don't think any of the players on the field were happy with that. So I think a big thing for me was just being happy that we put a good display of women's rugby league on.
What about the crowd in Game 2 especially? Like,
Yeah.
18,000, that's pretty special, standalone game. And what stood out for me was it wasn't just, you know, little girls or anything, it was families, Queensland, just wanting to come and watch an Origin game.
Even though they were cheering for the other team, yeah, it was really, really loud and intense. And, yeah, it was one of the best crowds I've played at, actually.